To an arrest warrant affidavit, Simpson was shot and killed after becoming upset because a woman she held the door open for didn't say thank you.
It started with something as small as a door. One woman held it open. Another walked through without saying thank you. And within minutes, a life was gone. It's hard to believe, right? How something so ordinary, so harmless, could turn into a tragedy that would shake an entire community. But that's exactly what happened to 41-year-old Cecilia Nicole Simpson in Dallas, Texas. Before we go deeper into what really happened that day, take a second. If you love uncovering stories that make you think about the world we live in, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you don't miss another story here on Shadow Crime. Because this one will make you question everything about human behavior. Cecilia wasn't some reckless person who picked fights or looked for trouble. She was described by her family as kind, respectful, and the kind of person who'd go out her way to help others. She had 2 children, and that afternoon, she was just out running errands with her daughter. It was supposed to be a normal day, the kind of simple, everyday routine that none of us think twice about. They stopped at a store called Five Below in the Oak Cliff area of Dallas. When Cecilia noticed a young woman walking behind her, she did what she'd probably done hundreds of times before. She held the door open. The woman, 22-year-old Keona Zachyua Hampton, walked through, but she didn't say thank you. Now, for most people, it would have ended there. You might roll your eyes, mutter something under your breath, and move on. But not this time. For reasons we may never fully understand, Cecilia felt disrespected, and maybe, just maybe, she decided to speak up about it. And that one moment of confrontation set off a chain reaction that would change everything. According to police report, words were exchanged. It wasn't physical at first, just 2 strangers, both feeling like they needed to be heard, both unwilling to back down. But as the argument heated up, things took a darker turn. Cecilia and her daughter left the store and drove a short distance to another shop nearby, a PetSmart, thinking it was over, but Keona followed them. Now imagine that for a second. You've just had an argument with a stranger, and as you move to another store, you notice they're still behind you. That sense of unease creeps in, the mix of confusion and fear. Was she following them out of anger, or just coincidence? We can only guess what Cecilia was feeling, but it's clear that something about Keona's presence made her nervous. Once inside the PetSmart, Cecilia and her daughter told employees they were being followed. It must have felt surreal. And yet, Keona didn't leave. She came inside, exchanged words with Cecilia's daughter, and then stepped out. Moments later, she came back again, and this time, everything escalated. In the parking lot, witnesses say Keona threw a drink bottle at Cecilia's car. That was the moment things crossed a line from words to aggression. Cecilia stepped out of the car, and what followed was a brief physical fight. 2 people locked in a moment of anger neither could control. But when it seemed like the argument might break apart, Keona reached for something deadly.
To an arrest warrant affidavit, Simpson was shot and killed after becoming upset because a woman she held the door open for didn't say thank you. The argument started at the store Five Below Tuesday and then spilled over to the PetSmart in the same South Oak Cliff shopping center off Wheatland Road. Investigators say 22-year-old Keona Hampton followed Simpson and her daughter into the PetSmart. Employees there asked them to leave.
In that split second, everything changed. Keona pulled out a gun, a small black and silver handgun she had brought with her. Imagine that moment. The chaos, the shouting, the disbelief on Cecilia's daughter's face as she watched 2 women arguing turn into something irreversible. Witnesses said 3 shots were fired. 3. Each one echoing through the parking lot, leaving behind a silence that would haunt everyone who heard it. Cecilia collapsed beside her car. Her daughter screamed for help, but by the time paramedics arrived, it was too late. The woman who had simply tried to hold the door open was gone.
That daughter, I just feel so bad for her, and I just want her to know that I did everything I could. Those other people did everything they could.
It's the kind of tragedy that makes you stop and think, how can something so small spiral into something so final? Police quickly began tracking the suspect. Witnesses had caught parts of the scene on their phones, and surveillance footage from nearby stores helped identify Keona's car, a black Ford 500 with visible damage. By that evening, around 7:45 p.m., officers spotted the vehicle and arrested Keona. She didn't resist. According to the police affidavit, she admitted to what had happened, but her words left everyone even more confused. She reportedly told detectives that she was just trying to get Cecilia away from her. It's hard to wrap your head around that, isn't it? How could pulling a trigger be a way to get someone away from you? Was it fear? Anger? Pride? Maybe all of it tangled together in a moment where logic completely disappeared. Cecilia's family was shattered. Her mother called the whole thing senseless, something that shouldn't have happened under any circumstance. Her son said he couldn't understand how one missing thank you could lead to his mother's death. And her daughter, the one who witnessed it all, now carries a memory of watching her mother die in front of her. That's a kind of pain words can't describe. And think about it, 2 lives were destroyed that day. Cecilia's, because she was taken too soon, and Keona's, because one impulsive act of violence ended her freedom and her future. It's a reminder of how powerful emotions can be when they go unchecked. We've all felt disrespected before, all had that moment where pride flares up, but what if we could just walk away instead? The story quickly went viral online. News outlets everywhere were talking about it. How a simple act of courtesy turned into a fatal argument. Social media exploded with debates about manners, anger, and gun control. People were divided. Some blamed society's growing tension. Others blamed pride, and many just couldn't believe it had really happened over 2 words. Thank you. When you strip it all down, it's a story about choices, about a moment that could have ended with silence instead of bullets. It's chilling to realize how 1 second of pride can erase an entire lifetime of love, laughter, and memories. But here's what I want you to think about. How often do we let small moments of frustration control us? How we become so defensive that every word feels like an attack? Could this tragedy have been prevented if someone had just walked away?
I would never forget my granddaughter calling me, telling me that her mother had got... I would never forget those screams. I would never. The screams when she was calling me, telling me her mother got shot. The screams in the emergency room when the doctor told us she didn't make it. It's like a bad dream that I can never wake up from.
Leslie Wickware was waiting for her daughter, 41-year-old Cecilia Simpson, affectionately known to her family as Cece, to come and visit her.
But that never happened.
According to a police affidavit, she had opened the door for 22-year-old Keona Hampton. And when Hampton didn't say thank you, Simpson called her out. It led to an argument between the 2 women. Simpson entered the PetSmart and told employees she was being followed.
My mom, as a bigger person, she walked away multiple times.
The affidavit says that Keona Hampton admitted to following Simpson into PetSmart, throwing a bottle at her car as she was trying to leave, and getting into a fight before eventually shooting her in the parking lot. Simpson's 16-year-old son says he doesn't sleep much anymore because instead of dreams, he's plagued by one unanswered question after another.
What was she thinking? What was going through her mind? Why did she have to follow my mom? What provoked her to continue to engage with my mom? What drove her to do that?
Hampton has been charged with murder in the case. She had previously been arrested for assaulting a family member.
It's crazy, because one day you wake up with your mom next to your side, and the next day it's quiet. You can't see her no more.
Simpson's.
After the shooting, the reality began to sink in for everyone who was there. The flashing red and blue lights filled the parking lot as officers secured the scene, and onlookers stood frozen, trying to make sense of what they'd just witnessed. It wasn't just another crime story. It felt like something deeper, a reflection of how fragile human emotion can be when pride and anger collide. Keona sat quietly in the back of the police car that evening, her face calm but distant. She was only 22, barely started her adult life. Yet in one moment of fury, she'd thrown it all away. Reports say she showed little emotion during questioning, almost as if she couldn't process the gravity of what she had done. But how do you even begin to process something like that? The investigators quickly pieced the story together from surveillance footage and witness statements. They learned that the entire situation started over that tiny act at the Five Below store. Cecilia had held the door open. Keona didn't say thank you, and a few words were exchanged. But what made it worse was that neither woman wanted to let it go. It became about principle, about pride, and neither one could walk away. Prosecutors described Keona's actions as senseless and unnecessary. They said that even when she had the chance to leave, she chose to follow Cecilia and her daughter instead. That one decision changed everything. The Dallas community mourned Cecilia deeply. Friends describe her as loving, respectful, and full of kindness. The last person you'd expect to end up in a confrontation like that. Her family, heartbroken, said they want her story to serve as a warning. They said Cecilia was someone who believed in doing the right thing, in teaching her children to be respectful and kind. That's what makes her death even harder to accept, because she died trying to do something polite. Keona was charged with murder and taken to Dallas County Jail. As her mugshot spread across social media, people were quick to form opinions. Some said she deserved the harshest punishment possible. Others wonder what kind of emotional state could make someone snap like that. Did she have a history of anger issues? Was there something deeper that triggered her reaction that day? But here's where the story gets even more unsettling. During court proceedings, her defense tried to argue that the situation escalated so quickly that Keona acted out of fear, that she felt threatened. Yet witnesses and footage told a different story. Keona had followed Cecilia, not the other way around. That detail alone changed everything about how people saw her actions. The courtroom was tense. Family members sat in silence, holding on to each other as the events were replayed in words and video clips. Every second of that day was examined, every movement, every word, every decision. And no matter how much Keona tried to explain herself, the truth was clear. 3 bullets ended a life that didn't have to end. Think about it. How many times have we let our pride push us into saying or doing something we later regret? How many times do we let emotions control reason, even for a second? Sometimes that 1 second is all it takes to destroy everything. Backslash as the case moved towards sentencing. The weight of what happened became impossible to ignore. Cecilia's family spoke about the emptiness she left behind. A mother who would never again call to check in, a friend whose laughter used to fill a room. Her daughter, who had been by her side that day, shared how the sound of those gunshots still echoed in her mind every night. It wasn't just the loss of a loved one. It was the trauma of witnessing the unthinkable. In court, Keona finally broke her silence. Her voice was quiet, trembling as she said she never meant for it to go that far. She said she was angry, felt disrespected, and acted without thinking. But that's the thing about anger. It doesn't ask permission. It takes over. And before you realize it, the damage is already done. Her apology couldn't bring Cecilia back, and it couldn't erase the pain carved into her family's hearts. The judge called a tragedy on every level, reminding everyone in the courtroom that 2 families were destroyed that day, one by loss, the other by consequence. Keona was sentenced to years behind bars, but even that couldn't balance the scales. There's no sentence long enough to make sense of a moment like that. Outside the courthouse, people gathered holding candles and photos of Cecilia. Her family urged everyone to take something away from her story. Not just sadness, but a reminder of how powerful restraint can be. They said if her death could teach even one person to pause before reacting, then her story wouldn't be in vain. And that's what makes this case so haunting. It wasn't about gangs, drugs, or revenge. It wasn't a planned attack. It was 2 people who crossed paths at the wrong moment, both caught in emotions they couldn't control. A moment that could have been forgotten turned into one that will never be forgotten. Let's be honest. How many times have you felt like snapping at someone for being rude? How many times has a small argument made your heart race, your pride flare up? We've all been there. But what if that next argument you get into is the one that changes your life forever? Stories like this remind us that control isn't weakness, it's strength. Walking away doesn't make you small, it keeps you safe. It protects not only you, but everyone around you. And maybe, just maybe, if one person that day had decided to take a deep breath and let it go, Cecilia would still be alive. So before you leave today, ask yourself, what's really worth losing your peace over? Is being right worth a life? Is pride worth the future? Thank you for watching. And if stories like this make you stop and think about the world we live in, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon so you never miss another story here on Shadow Crime, where every case reminds us that one moment can change everything.